Welcome to another edition of the Noles podcast. I am your host, Gregory McCoy. This podcast is by a fan for fans. I am not a journalist. I am not a reporter. I am not an insider. I do not work for a website. The majority of my content comes from me, in my opinion. Other information comes from the internet. First and foremost, the Damar Hamlin situation. Very unfortunate. I'm glad he's made a full recovery. I didn't just want to jump on after something like that happened and try to get views or whatever. A lot of people did that, and that's just it's very unsavory in my opinion. A lot of people said some negative things about T. Higgins, about the game should have went on. I mean, just crazy, man. Dude almost died out there on the field. The freak accident. I mean, I've seen that type of tackle a million times. I've made that tackle when I played football. It's just a very unfortunate incident, but I'm glad he's made recovery somewhat. He's doing better. And I'm glad that, people come together. I don't like when people come together when it's tragic. People should come together in the best of times, not the worst of times. But, a lot of these sports commentators, debate show hosts, just very unprofessional in their critique of the tackle and the game. But at the end of the day, I'm glad that, again, he's moving in a positive direction for him, for his family. And that's all that matters. Nothing else really matters. So obviously I watched him play a little bit. He was in the ACC. I'm not going to sit here and say I followed his whole career. I didn't. I didn't really know who he was, like Jamie Robinson of Florida State. I didn't know who he was. I seen him play a couple of times when Pittsburgh was, doing their thing, the last couple of years. So I knew of him, but I wasn't like an avid follower of his per se. So, but none of that matters. I don't want to come on here and make it seem like I'm just all Damar Hamlin as far as knowing who he is and all that stuff. I just hope that he can make a full recovery from that situation and one day get back on the field, because I know that's what he wants. So that's pretty much it on that. I mean, we got some great news, and then we had some not so great news. Treshaun Ward got in the portal. Jared Verse decided to stay. I don't think the Treshaun Ward news is gonna really be that big of a deal because the running back room is so deep. I would have loved to have had him on this team. But, I mean, at the end of the day, he's got to do what's best for him. So I can only respect that. The bigger news to me is Jared Verse staying. This is tremendous. I think, it puts us in a great position next season to make a national championship run. Like I've been saying the past couple of months, man, a lot of this depends on Patrick Payton, too. He's got to get in the weight room. He's got to get bigger and stronger. That's the only weakness of his game, is that he can't disengage from really good tackles. But, I mean, just being able to get around tackles, the speed, the agility, the pass rushing skills. I mean, he's pretty good, man. But if he gets stronger and put on some weight and he can he can bull rush and do stuff like that, man, the sky's the limit for him. I mean, linebacking core, we've answered some questions in the secondary. I mean, I really feel like, the offensive line is going to be a strength again. I really don't see no weakness on this team. If like I said, if Verse is coming back, that's going to give us a pass rush. We got to have some depth. We got to find some depth from somewhere. Because those guys can't play the whole game. The defensive tackle from Miami, the defensive tackle from Western Michigan, Lovett is coming back. I mean, it's just going to be, we have to be the odds-on favorite for the ACC at least. So that Clemson-Florida State game is going to be huge. But even if we lose that game, if we can still run the table the rest of the way, we could still rematch them in the ACC championship. But I'm just very excited for next season, man. I don't see any weaknesses on offense. I would like for them to use Marquiston Douglas more of a lead blocker. I think Trey Benson is at his best when he has a lead blocker. I really would. I mean, that's really it on offense. The offensive line, when everybody was out there, was pretty good. I mean, wide receivers are good. I'm really anxious to see what Hakeem Williams does. As a true freshman, what kind of impact can he make? I want to see what Julian Armella is going to do. Can he push for some playing time? But other than that, I mean, Johnny Wilson, man. I mean, just a beast out there. And, it's going to be really interesting to see how this thing unfolds next season. If we can get past LSU, I don't see anybody stopping us. I promise you that I think Mike Norvell has like a tap on my iPhone when I record my podcast, because earlier in this podcast, I was talking about the defensive line and what we needed. And then, boom, you get this guy from South Carolina. I mean, Mike Norvell knows what he's doing, man. I think we can come to that general consensus now. He has the pulse of the whole organization. He has the pulse of this team. And I just feel like next year is national championship or bust. I mean, definitely a minimum ACC championship game. It's just a very exciting time to be a Florida State fan right now. I didn't even watch the national championship. I mean, when I seen Georgia just boom, boom, boom right down the field, I was like, this is over. There's no way that TCU can match them at the line of scrimmage. And give Georgia all the credit in the world, man. Kirby Smart went out and built this team, and he's doing a tremendous job. Back-to-back national champions. All you can do is just, give them a salute. And hopefully, Florida State can be there next year to try to dethrone these guys. It's going to be very hard if we get there. This is a very physical football team. They don't need a superstar quarterback. They just need a quarterback who doesn't make mistakes. And, when you're that dominant at the line of scrimmage, you don't need a big-time quarterback. I would venture to say that Jordan Travis is better than Stetson Bennett. I think you could put Jordan Travis on Georgia and they don't miss a beat. I don't think you could put Stetson Bennett on our team and get the same results. Not a shot at Stetson Bennett, but, I mean, I just don't think he's that great. I think he is in a great situation with a great offensive line and a great defensive line. And we'll see where he goes in the pros. But I just feel like we got a pipeline to South Carolina, man. We just keep getting these guys from South Carolina. And, we've struck gold. Hopefully his third time will be a charm. This defensive end coming from South Carolina can come in and be dynamic. And, I'm still anxious to see what McClendon and Patrick Payton and, the rest of the guys are how they're gonna respond to that. At any rate, you're gonna rotate guys. So, everybody's gonna get an opportunity to play. And, you're gonna have a rotation at the defensive ends. You're gonna have a rotation at the defensive tackles. You've added a secondary player. Your linebackers are young. You got Tatum and DeLoach running that 4-2-5. It's gonna be crazy. Offensively, you went out and got some serious beef on the offensive line. So it's just like, there's no weak point right now. Barring injury. I would definitely say depth might be an issue on both sides of the ball. I think our starting 22 can match up with anybody. But I keep saying this, and Mike Norvell keeps proving me wrong. I don't think building your team through the transfer portal is sustainable. I've said that a million times because you don't know who's coming out year to year. But, the last couple years, he's went out and got players. But I really think long-term success is high school recruiting. You look at Alabama, you look at Georgia, you look at Clemson, you look at Ohio State, Oklahoma, the teams that are perennial playoff teams. And, their sustainability is through high school recruiting. They'll get a piece here, a piece there from the portal, but large in part, their stuff is going to be high school recruiting. And, I respect that. And I want Florida State to get back to that with the emphasis on offensive and defensive linemen. But, TCU, hats off to them. They had a tremendous season. Michigan was overrated, obviously. I don't think if Michigan wins that game, I don't feel like they give Georgia any kind of resistance if they played in that game. I feel like Ohio State, Georgia was basically the national championship. I think we can universally come to that conclusion. Georgia, Ohio State was pretty much the national championship. I'm not going to say that TCU and Michigan didn't belong there. They won their games, they won their conference, and they deserve to be there. But, obviously Georgia is working, on a whole nother level. This is going to be my last episode for a while. I'm not really going to sit here and, unless it's just something crazy like Travis Hunter decides to come back to Florida or come to Florida State. I shouldn't say come back. Something like that, then yeah, but just putting the finishing touches on the 2022-2023 season. I think the sky's the limit going forward. I'm so happy that, our leaders, our best offensive player, our best defensive player decided to come back. You would have wanted Jamie Robinson to come back, but he's got to do what's best for him. And, he's a great player. I don't feel like he's that great in pass coverage. He's a box safety at best. But he's a great tackler. He makes plays. And I'm not going to take anything away from him. But, on this podcast, we try to keep it real as much as possible. We got the kicker from East Tennessee State University. I don't know nothing about that guy, so I'm not going to sit up here and say it's an improvement or it's worse than Fitzgerald. Well, we'll see. Mastromano, pretty good punter. We improved in the kickoff return and punt return game. I think Ja'Kai Douglas will probably take over the kick return, and you leave Micah Pittman at the punt returner. And I just feel like, hey, man, at best, at worst, if we go 10-2, LSU and Clemson. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I think Clemson at this point just has the mental edge in the matchup. I don't think they have better talent at this point right now. I think they just have the mental edge. But, we can just go out there and out-physical those guys. And you saw in the Oklahoma game, I guarantee you Brent Venables went straight to Dabo and was like, how do we beat these guys? And run the football. And that was our weak point. I mean, really the whole season, if Fabian Lovett wasn't playing, the run game was pretty much, we got ate up. So I again, kudos to Mike Norvell and staff for going out and getting, the defensive tackle from Miami, the defensive tackle from Western Michigan. And I don't think run defense, Fabian Lovett comes back, I don't think run defense is going to be an issue next season. I think Briggs comes back. I don't know if he plays defensive end or defensive tackle. I think Warner, who's been there like forever, I think he has one more year. I don't think you can look past the Trayshawn Ward transfer. Hopefully they can get him to come back, man. But I'm just like, where is he going to go? Where is he going to go and be a starter and be the guy? I'm trying to picture in my mind, where does he go? Maybe he got an offer from somebody. I don't know. I'm not bitter about it. I mean, like I said many times, if you have an opportunity to increase your financial, whatever, do it. Because you never know when your last play on that field is going to be. So, you name, image, likeness, go get it. I know, side chatter from me. Like, I really love the fact that these guys can go out and make money now and actually change their lives, change their families' lives. I just think, it's entertainment. It's a game. They're putting their health and their safety willingly on the line for people like me to be entertained. At the very least, they should be able to make some money off of it. So, if I had to predict a Final Four or playoff for next season, I would probably go definitely Georgia. I think Alabama's going to be back. Well, we have to see who their quarterback is going to be. But I just think with some of the talent that they're bringing in, it's going to be kind of hard for them not to get back. I think Florida State will be a fringe team. I don't know if they're going to make it. So right now I got Georgia, Alabama. I'm going to go Ohio State. And I'm going to say USC. If Lincoln Riley can't win at USC and win consistently and be a playoff team consistently, there's a problem. Okay? Because you're probably in Southern California is one of the most fertile recruiting grounds in the country. South Florida, Georgia, South Florida, Southern California. Just some of the most fertile recruiting grounds, And I just feel like he's got to put it all together. He's got his quarterback. His defense wasn't good. I like that dude Malik Brown though, the running back. He's special. But I digress. I really want to take this podcast to a global type view of college football, still with the emphasis on Florida State, but there's nothing wrong with talking about other football stuff. And, the future is very bright for Florida State. Now after next season, that's going to be the real, litmus test to see how's your recruiting paid off. Right. So that's really what I'm anxious to see. AJ Duffy, the quarterback, I can't think of his name, that's been there forever. Rodemaker. You got a kid coming in the 2024 class. You got another quarterback coming in this year. So early enrollees. What could have been this season? That's really what I'm looking at. 10-3 is great, but again, we have a standard here. It's nice to be relevant again, to win a bowl game against a big name opponent. That's all fine and dandy, but there's a standard. And, we all have to hold this team to the standard. The team has to hold themselves to the standard. First and foremost, it really don't matter what the fans think. It's all about that team, that coaching staff, and then you factor in the fans. But 10-3 after what we've been through for the last 6-7 years is tremendous. I don't want to make light of that, but I really do feel like, to get back to that top tier, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, to get back into that conversation, we got to start getting guys. I really want to see what this Hakeem Williams receiver, what he's going to be. I'm really anxious to see that. Big receiver who from what I've seen on the internet and from what I've saw on YouTube, runs great routes, has great hands, fast, strong. So, you just see what type of receivers he likes. He likes big receivers. He likes, jitterbugs like Micah Pittman and Ja'Kai Douglas and Pokey Wilson. Then running backs, he'll go power with the running backs. He'll go scat back. He's all over the place. I love it. He's not locked into a certain type of running back. Offensive line, like I said earlier, you need rhinos. He's went out and got several rhinos. The highlight there for me is Julian Armella. I think, arguably maybe the best tackle on this roster, and he should be a starter next season. I don't care if it's right or left. I feel like Darius Washington should be an interior lineman. His best game was at center. I want to say against LSU. He played center. So, He's not a tackle, but he did play a hell of a game against, I can't think of the opponent. He played right tackle when turn time went out, and he played a hell of a game. I have to give him credit. I forget which game that was, but history says that he's not a good tackle. He's a better interior lineman. So, real anxious to see who they put out there next season. Do they just go with the best 5, or do they go position by position? It's going to be really anxious. I'm really anxious to see that. You know, defensive line, we already know it's going to be Verse. I don't know. Verse and Lovett are going to be starters. And I don't know who the other defensive tackle or defensive end is going to be. I think that Deloach and Bethune are going to be your linebackers. I think Fentrell Cypress is definitely a starter. I mean, he's arguably the best corner on the roster right now. So I don't know who's going to be the other corner. I think Akeem Dent is going to be the free safety. I think Shaheem Brown is going to be the strong safety. And I don't know who they're going to get to play that star position, that hybrid safety linebacker. I really don't know. I mean, maybe you throw Shaheem Brown out there and put Azare Thomas at safety. I don't know. You got Greedy Vance, who's pretty good. You still got Jones. So, you know, I think Fentrell Cypress, you put him on the best receiver every game and just, you know, see how that works. And then I think it's going to be a very interesting season. I really can't wait, man. September 3rd, Orlando, LSU. If we can get past those guys, it's going to be, you know, sky's the limit. But we have to come out and play with that same intensity that we played in this past season's opener. Because everybody, including myself, thought LSU was just going to roll. I thought we was going to get, you know, manhandled at the point of attack. But we went out there and punched those guys in the mouth. But, you know, we let up at the end. We started making mistakes. So whatever it takes next season, you know, I think we can be real special, man. It's all about what we do, how we prepare. You know, strength and conditioning is really the secret sauce, strength and conditioning. So, again, this probably going to be the last episode for a while. I'm going to enjoy this off season. You know, I don't really do no recruiting talk unless it's just something phenomenal like, you know, Travis Hunter type level stuff. So that's really the only way you're going to hear from me from now until like maybe August. You know, and I'm going to still put up videos. So if you listen on YouTube, you know, I really appreciate the support. 9,000 subscribers, you know, nothing big, but I never thought I would get one person to subscribe to that channel. And, you know, we average about 100 listeners on here a day. So, you know, modest, minor, small stuff, but I'm very appreciative of the people that listen to me and my monotone voice. Thank you for listening. I really do appreciate the support. Podcasts available on YouTube and on all podcast platforms. Can't wait for next season. As always, go Noles.